Before the trophies and the fame, before the entire world knew his name, Cristiano Ronaldo was just a skinny kid from a small island in Portugal that most people couldn't even find on a map. He spoke differently, he didn't quite fit in. And at 12 years old, he packed his things and moved alone to Lisbon, no family around him, no comfort, no safety net, just football, and a pressure that no 12-year-old should ever have to carry by himself. He struggled. He was homesick. There were moments where he genuinely didn't belong. But he never went back. And in that loneliness, in that silence of being completely on his own, something started to form inside him. Not confidence. Not the arrogance you see today. Something quieter than that, and far more dangerous. Discipline. The kind that doesn't come from a coach, or a parent, or a motivational speech. The kind that only comes from having nothing else left. Over time, that discipline stopped being just hard work, and became something else entirely. It became obsession. A quiet, relentless, never satisfied obsession that followed him everywhere he went, onto every training pitch, into every gym, through every setback, past every person who told him he was too small, too emotional, not good enough for the level he was chasing. They were wrong. Every single one of them. Because every doubt he ever faced didn't slow him down. It built him. Brick by brick, year by year, it built him into something the world had genuinely never seen before. This is the story of Cristiano Ronaldo. But it's really the story of what happens when pressure doesn't break a person, but makes them instead. Chap 1. Cristiano Ronaldo was born on February 5, 1985, in Funchal, Madeira. It is a small island, far from the big football cities of Europe. Nothing about it suggests that it would produce one of the most famous athletes in history. He was raised in a working household where life was always moving, always demanding something. His father worked around football in a support role at a local club, staying close to the game but never part of its success stories. His mother worked long hours just to keep the home stable and the children cared for. There was no sense of comfort or security that you would associate with future stars. Life was practical. Days were about getting by, not building dreams. Ronaldo grew up watching that reality very closely. He saw what effort looked like before it was celebrated. He saw how much his parents had to give just to keep things running normally. That understanding stayed with him early. Football entered his life in a very simple way. It was not introduced as a career path or a big opportunity. It was just something available, something he could do with a ball whenever he had time outside. But the difference was in how he treated it. For him, it wasn't just play. It was the only part of life where things felt clear. When he had the ball, everything else faded into the background. Even as a child, he spent more time with football than anything else. Not because someone pushed him, but because it felt like the only place where control existed. There was nothing dramatic about those early years. No big events announcing what he would become. Just repetition, interest, and a growing attachment to the game. And while life around him continued in its usual rhythm, Ronaldo slowly started to move in a different direction mentally. Football stopped being something he did, and started becoming something he paid attention to differently than everyone else. At that stage, nobody would have described him as special. But looking back, the important part was not what he was, yet it was how seriously he treated something so early. Because long before the world knew his name, he was already building a relationship with the game that most kids never develop. And that is where his story actually begins, not with fame, not with talent, but with a boy who simply refused to treat football like it was ordinary. Chap 2. Cristiano Ronaldo left Madeira at the age of 12 to join Sporting CP's academy in Lisbon. It meant leaving his family behind and living alone in a completely new city. The adjustment was hard. He felt homesick and even thought about going back. But he stayed because football mattered more than comfort. At the academy, he stood out immediately, not just for talent, but for his accent and background. Some of the other boys mocked him, and he often had to prove himself just to be accepted. Instead of breaking him, it pushed him further. He trained harder, stayed longer, and treated every session like a test he had to pass. During this time, he was also diagnosed with a heart condition and underwent a procedure before returning to football. By the time things settled, he had already faced distance, isolation, bullying, and health uncertainty, all before becoming a professional player. And instead of stepping away, he moved closer to the game that was shaping him. Chapter 03. At Sporting CP, Cristiano Ronaldo quickly moved from a promising academy player to someone the club could not ignore. By 2002, he had broken into the first team and was already showing flashes of something unusual: speed, confidence, and a fearlessness that didn't match his age. But the moment everything changed came in 2003, during a pre-season friendly against Manchester United in Lisbon. Ronaldo didn't just play well in that match, he dominated moments of it. He repeatedly took on experienced defenders, especially John O'Shea, and made them struggle to contain him. His dribbling, acceleration, and direct style stood out immediately to the visiting Manchester United players. After the match, several United players reportedly told their manager Sir Alex Ferguson that they had just faced one of the most difficult young wingers they had ever seen. Ferguson acted fast. Within days, Manchester United completed the signing of Cristiano Ronaldo for around £12.24 million in 2003, making him the first Portuguese player in the club's history. He was just 18 years old. At Old Trafford, he arrived as a raw talent, not a finished product. But what separated him from others was not just skill, it was mentality. He trained obsessively, stayed after sessions, and worked on weaknesses most young players ignore. Of course, the early criticism was there too. He was labeled as too flashy, too individual, and still physically developing. But inside the club, there was patience, especially under Sir Alex Ferguson, who played a key role in shaping his discipline and decision-making. This period became the foundation of his transformation from a talented teenager into a world-class professional. And this is where his rise truly begins. If you're enjoying this documentary-style journey so far, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more deep, cinematic success stories just like this. Chapter 04. When Cristiano Ronaldo arrived at Manchester United in 2003, he was 18 years old, full of talent, but still incomplete as a player. He had arrived at one of the biggest clubs in the world, where expectation is not potential, it is performance. His early days were not perfect. He was unpredictable, sometimes over-dribbled, and often tried to do too much on his own. The Premier League was also physically tougher than anything he had experienced in Portugal. But what stood out was not consistency, it was attitude. Under Sir Alex Ferguson, Ronaldo was placed in an environment that demanded discipline and growth. Ferguson didn't just see a winger, he saw raw material that could be shaped into something far more complete. Training at Manchester United became his obsession. He stayed after sessions, worked on finishing, decision-making, and physical strength. Over time, his body changed, becoming stronger and more explosive. By 2006-07, the transformation was visible. He was no longer just a skillful winger, he was becoming a direct goal threat. That season, he scored heavily in the Premier League and helped United win the league title, earning recognition as one of the best players in England. The following season, 2007-08, became his breakthrough at the highest level. He scored 42 goals in all competitions and played a key role in Manchester United winning both the Premier League and the UEFA Champions League. That year also brought him his first Ballon d'Or, confirming his rise from a talented teenager into the best player in the world. But more importantly, this period defined the version of Ronaldo the world now recognizes: not just a player with skill, but a player built on repetition, discipline, and relentless improvement. Manchester United didn't just give him a stage, it shaped his identity. And from here, football would never look at him the same way again. Chapter 05. When Cristiano Ronaldo joined Real Madrid in 2009, it wasn't just a transfer. It was the beginning of a new era in football. Real Madrid paid around $94 million to sign him from Manchester United, making him the most expensive player in the world at the time. The expectations were simple and impossible at the same time: win everything and do it consistently. He arrived at a club built on pressure. At Real Madrid, success is not celebrated for long, it is demanded again the next season. In his early years, he shared the stage with another rising force in world football, Lionel Messi at Barcelona. That rivalry quickly became the center of modern football. Every season was measured through goals, trophies, and individual records. But Ronaldo didn't respond to pressure by slowing down. He responded by increasing output. He evolved from a winger into a complete goal-scoring machine. His positioning became sharper, his finishing more clinical, and his consistency unmatched. Season after season, he delivered numbers that pushed the limits of what was considered normal. Between 2011 and 2018, he reached a level of dominance rarely seen in football history. He became Real Madrid's all-time top scorer and broke multiple Champions League records, including becoming the competition's all-time leading scorer. The Champions League became his territory. While others struggled under knockout pressure, Ronaldo consistently delivered in the biggest moments, scoring decisive goals that carried Real Madrid through critical stages. Under managers like Jose Mourinho, Carlo Ancelotti, and Zinedine Zidane, he adapted his role, but his output never dropped. In fact, it became more efficient. The peak of this era came with 4 Champions League titles in 5 years, including 3 consecutive wins from 2016 to 2018, something modern football had not seen before. Real Madrid didn't just benefit from Ronaldo. It was built around moments he created in the biggest matches. By the end of his time in Madrid, he wasn't just a star player. He had become the defining figure of the most dominant European team of its era. And when he finally left, he didn't just leave a club behind, he left behind an empire that had been shaped around his goals. Chapter 06. The rivalry between Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi wasn't just competition, it became the defining storyline of modern football for over a decade. Every season at Real Madrid was measured against Barcelona, and every goal Ronaldo scored was immediately compared to Messi's numbers. It created constant pressure, where excellence was no longer enough, he had to outdo perfection. But instead of breaking him, it sharpened him. Ronaldo didn't try to imitate Messi. He doubled down on his own strengths: power, efficiency, movement, and relentless finishing. The rivalry forced him to evolve into a more complete and more clinical goal scorer. Between them, they pushed football to levels never seen before, breaking records year after year and turning consistency into an obsession for both players. And in that constant chase for superiority, Ronaldo didn't fall behind. He built one of the greatest statistical and mental peaks in football history. So when you look back at this era, it wasn't just Messi versus Ronaldo, it was a rivalry that redefined greatness itself. Now be honest, which one do you like the most? Messi or Ronaldo? Chapter 07. Behind the goals, trophies, and records, Cristiano Ronaldo's life has always carried a personal side that shaped him just as much as football did. One of the most important changes in his life came when he became a father. His first son, Cristiano Ronaldo Jr., was born in 2010. From that moment, his focus shifted beyond just football achievements. He now had a responsibility that stayed with him off the pitch as well. Later, his relationship with Georgina Rodriguez became a stable part of his life. She entered his world during his time in Madrid, and over time became a key presence in his family life, standing with him through his career changes, pressure, and public attention. But not everything in his personal journey was easy or joyful. His father, José Diniz Aveiro, passed away in 2005 while Ronaldo was still very young in his Manchester United career. That loss deeply affected him, especially because his father had been present during his early connection with football, even if life had been difficult. Through all of this, Ronaldo's personal life remained closely tied to discipline and responsibility. Even as fame grew, he maintained a strong focus on structure, training, family, and control over his environment. What stands out is not just success on the pitch, but how he balanced constant pressure with a personal life that carried both love and loss. And while the world often sees the goals and celebrations, this side of his story shows something different: a human layer behind the machine of greatness. Chapter 09. After leaving Real Madrid in 2018, Cristiano Ronaldo joined Juventus in a deal worth around 100 million. It wasn't a decline in ambition, it was a new challenge. His goal was clear: win the Champions League with a third club. In Italy, he delivered immediately. He scored goals consistently, broke records, and helped Juventus dominate Serie A. But the European success never arrived. Despite strong individual performances, Juventus fell short in the Champions League, and over time, the project lost its direction. That chapter quietly closed in 2021. He returned to Manchester United with emotional expectations. Fans believed in a final fairy tale version of Ronaldo, and at first, he delivered, scoring crucial goals and carrying the team in difficult moments. But the club itself was unstable. Managers changed, systems shifted, and the structure around him never settled. The team struggled for consistency, and frustration grew on both sides. By late 2022, the relationship ended after public tension, and Ronaldo left Manchester United again. Then came the biggest shift of his career. In December 2022, Ronaldo signed with Al Nassr in Saudi Arabia. The deal was reported to be worth around $200 million per year, making him the highest-paid footballer in the world. Some reports also estimated his total contract package, including bonuses and commercial agreements, at over $600 million across multiple components. He was no longer playing in Europe's elite leagues, but his influence had expanded globally. The move marked a new phase, less about competition at the very top of European football, and more about legacy, visibility, and global impact. At Al Nassr, he instantly became the face of the Saudi Pro League, breaking records and continuing to score at a high level. Financially, he remained unmatched, consistently ranked as the highest-paid athlete in the world, earning more than $200 million annually from football alone, plus endorsements. But the narrative around him changed. It was no longer about chasing Champions League titles, it was about how long he could sustain elite performance while shaping football in a completely different market. And that's where his story stands today. Not in decline, not in peak Europe, but in transition between legacy and endurance. Chapter 10. Cristiano Ronaldo's career has always circled one missing piece: the World Cup. He has won everything in club football, Champions League titles, league trophies in multiple countries, and individual awards that define an era. But for Portugal, the ultimate international trophy has remained just out of reach. The closest moment came in 2016, when he led Portugal to victory at the UEFA European Championship. It was not just a trophy, it was proof that he could carry his country on the biggest stage. But the World Cup still remained untouched. At the World Cup level, his journey has been full of highs and disappointments. He has scored in multiple editions, broken records, and even became the first player in history to score in 5 different World Cups. But the trophy itself has never arrived. As his career moved into its later stages, first Juventus, then a return to Manchester United, and now Al Nassr, the question around him slowly changed. It was no longer about dominance, it became about legacy. Even at Al Nassr in Saudi Arabia, where he signed a record-breaking deal reported around $200 million per year, including commercial earnings, he continued to score, continued to lead, and continued to prove that age had not fully closed the chapter yet. But deep down, one ambition still defines him: to lift the World Cup for Portugal. It is a dream that has followed him through every stage of his career, every transfer, every record, every fall, and every comeback. And now the story reaches its final question. Can Cristiano Ronaldo, at the very end of his journey, still achieve the one trophy that has always escaped him? Or has football already written the final chapter in a different way? Because this is where every legend eventually arrives, not at the peak, but at the moment where everything becomes a question of fate rather than effort. The numbers are already there. The legacy is already built. And what remains is something no record can measure. So now it comes down to you, watching this. Do you think Cristiano Ronaldo will finally lift the World Cup with Portugal? Or will this remain the only missing piece in an otherwise complete career? Share your thoughts, because every fan sees this story a little differently. If you enjoyed this documentary, like the video and subscribe for more cinematic football stories like this.